Amore, come on in.
Nice
Nice to
to
see you. Step on over. Set your right foot right over here. So,
Okay.
Giovanni Ferrosi, URI alum.
I heard.
Anthony Amore, URI. What was your favorite part about going to school there?
Wow, I guess growing up in Providence, I grew up in Silver Lake, and even though Rhode Island's so small, URI campus is like a world away from Silver Lake. So I liked stepping outside of my comfort zone, I guess, going there. It was fun, and plus, I mean, the URI reputation it was deserved.
So we brought Anthony in because obviously you're a player on the national stage in security, director of security at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. Just put out your second book.
I did.
Art of the Con.
That's exactly right.
So I want to talk with you a little bit, and I know you've talked with folks so much in terms of the stolen artwork from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. How many pieces?
13.
13 pieces that were heisted in 1990?
Exactly, yep, March 18, 1990. So we're coming up on the 27th anniversary next month, 3 weeks from now or so. And we're still looking for all of the art still missing. And the heist was the biggest property theft in the history of the world. It was the 13 pieces are worth over $500 million.
$500 million. And of course, the $1 billion question here, you want to know where it is. I mean, what's your thoughts? Where's this art, is it just in deep cover somewhere? I mean, obviously, as I said, if you knew, you'd find it.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts about what happened and where it could be?
Well, I've looked at a lot of art theft in my, I've been looking for these for 11 years. And in that time, I've researched a lot of heists, and I've looked at around 1,300 different heists to see what happens to art when it's taken. Where do the thieves usually put it? And I'm talking about masterpieces. And typically, they stay pretty close to where they're stolen. So I'm reasonably confident that the art stolen from the Gardner is in this general area, Boston, Providence area, organized crime went up and down Route 95 throughout that time and probably today. So I think that what we're looking for is in the general area. I always say it's around a 60-mile radius.
Okay. So what are folks, I mean, what do you, if it can't be sold at Christie's and you're not putting it at Sotheby's and it's not out there, is it Thomas Crown-esque? Does someone have it in their dining room and showing it off to their friends? What do
I wish that was the case. What happens with this stuff is, generally speaking, thieves steal these big-name, high-value pieces of art, thinking that once they take it, they'll find a buyer, thinking even pennies on the dollar is going to give them millions.
Yep. But
what they find out when they steal is that there's no buyer for these things. There is no Thomas Crown sort of scenario. So what happens is they take this stuff and they put it into hiding. Unfortunately for people like me who look for them, paintings don't make mistakes. So if you put a painting under your bed, or you put it in your basement, in your crawl space, it's not going to peek its head out the window. It's not going to go get its hair done like the way they caught Whitey Bulger.
Yes.
His girlfriend going to get her hair done and people recognizing her. So that makes finding art a bit more difficult.
And the New York Times just had a piece this week about sort of the criminal market of art at the national level, in terms of putting out who the actual owners are of that. So on the grander scale, I mean, is that a huge issue in the art world, not knowing where the art might have come from if there's not the paper trail? And again, they're trying to sell it at auction. Is that a major concern in the art world?
Major. The book that you just mentioned, The Art of the Con, I wrote, is about fraud, about art fraud, and that's where fraud. That's where the problem really arises with fraud. You look at paintings that are forgeries, for instance, and the person will bring them forward to an art dealer and say, these were hidden in my basement for a long time. We hid them from the Nazis during World War II, and these have never been seen before. And then when the dealer wants to know about the provenance, which is the recorded ownership records of the art, there really isn't any. But that's not that unusual in the art world, and the New York Times story kind of made that point. A lot of times it's very murky. The names of the owners are anonymous and such. So when you imagine buying a car and no one has the title for it, or they tell you, I don't know who has the title, it's Mr. X, that sort of thing. It makes it very difficult to establish ownership and know if it's stolen. That's what happens with paintings. And
is there money laundering involved, again, looking at this article in terms of, foreign governments getting involved and how they sort of launder the money through and try to, get legitimate money out of it?
Absolutely. In fact, art is it's a good way to do that, unfortunately, because it's hard for people to understand why. I was just at the RISD Art Museum, and there's a Rothko on the wall, and I had a little girl with me running, and I said, don't touch it, it's probably worth $100 million. The average person doesn't know why that's worth $100 million. If you told me Anthony, that's actually worth 140, right? That's a big difference, but I wouldn't know why. So when people want to launder money and the numbers are so difficult to grasp, there's no blue book, right, for a Rothko.
So look through and see what it's worth, right?
Exactly, right? So you can't go online and check Kelly's blue book or what have you. So when the numbers are so nebulous like that, it makes it tough for people to pinpoint exactly what it should be worth, and so that makes it easier to launder money with it. You know, you say, "Oh, I sold it for X amount of dollars." Well, who
knew what it was to begin with?
Exactly.
And talk about heists as a crime. There was just the attempted painting theft up in Boston at a small studio on the day of the Super Bowl.
Right, yeah.
And some Boston University kids actually found the guy and tackled the guy.
Isn't that amazing?
So, I don't know, is this something, if you don't, did it sound like the guy knew what he was doing? And can you get away with smashing a window in and yanking some paintings out with the cameras and, again, kids just walking the street, literally seeing what had happened?
Yep.
What do you think happened in this case?
That happens all the time. Now, thieves go to galleries that are on, say like Newbury Street in Boston. You own a gallery and it's glass storefront necessarily. So people steal prints and works of art from galleries like that all the time. In record numbers every year. There's more, lots of money worth. And we're talking about pieces that might be worth $10,000, not $10 million. Those are very difficult to recover. They're easy to sell, so those get stolen a lot. This thief just got unlucky with these kids walking down the street. They don't know. I wouldn't advise anybody to take the law into their own hands like that. He might have been armed or what have you. I wish those kids were near the Gardner, that was 27 years ago.
Well, if they're watching now, sign them up and come work at the Gardner with Anthony. And one of the things I did want to ask you about since coming in, obviously you come from Department of Homeland Security, TSA security background. Wanted to talk with you, maybe tack a little bit to kind of the state of the country right now under the Trump administration. With everything going on, from a security standpoint, what are you expecting out of the Trump administration in the next 4 years?
It's hard to say anything with certainty about the Trump administration. The one thing you have to say is he's doing what he said he would do. One thing I would say is I worked for immigration at the beginning of my career, and the idea of having special interest countries where when they enter, when I was there, I think there were 9. Afghanistan was on the list, it's not on his. Someone from Afghanistan would come in, even with a green card, and you'd send them over for more scrutiny. Nowadays, they would call that person detained. They're not really detained, but they have to establish their admissibility, and it makes people very tense. In the future, I think he keeps saying that he wants to put the nation's security first, and I don't think there's any reason to doubt that. The question will be, how do civil liberties come into play? And I think any citizen, regardless of the president, should always be vigilant about their civil liberties.
And obviously, I just was talking with Jennifer Lawless down in D.C. about the travel ban that got struck down by the courts. He's going back to the drawing board. Do you expect something airtight to come out of the Trump administration? Do you think he's learned the lessons that came out of that, and will we see a travel ban in place? And is it something, from your vantage point, necessary for the country?
I don't think, I don't want to take any type of partisan side. I would say that I don't think there's any harm in a country saying we want to stop and look at this temporarily. That being said, the way the administration went about it was sloppy. I think it's now become a contest. Whatever he's writing now, his team, his legal team, is probably saying, what can we write that the court can't strike down? And I guarantee you that no matter what they produce in his new executive action, that the ACLU and other groups are going to sue. I don't care what it says, there will be a lawsuit because it's signed by Donald J. Trump. So it's just going to be one of these contests back and forth. It's never going to be smooth sailing, no matter what he puts out.
Now, I said, I know you want to take a nonpartisan take on things. I know you're very politically involved. So what have you liked coming out of the Trump administration? What have you not liked coming out of the Trump administration?
I like his appointments. I think he's appointed conservatives, as I would hope he would. I think he did an excellent job in his choice for the Supreme Court. I think Gorsuch would be an excellent Supreme Court justice. Anybody who adheres to the Constitution is someone who belongs on the bench, in my mind. I think he did a good job with the Homeland Security. However, I would say, again, this idea, I just wish that I had said, I wished on Inauguration Day, after he took the oath, that he tweeted one last time and said, "This is my final tweet. I have lots of work to do. See you in 4 years." I just wish he would put that away and stop getting in arguments with Saturday Night Live and Madonna or whomever else.
That's a distraction.
It's a distraction, and it degrades the office. You know, I mean, it does. It just changes the way you look at the office of the presidency. I wish you would just focus on. There's a lot of work to be done, regardless of what side of the fence you sit. There's a lot of work to be done. Just get to work.
So if you were elected to a higher office in the coming years, would you not tweet, or is it just an indication of the president's office? It's too big to be literally off the cuff tweeting.
Well, I think you have to tweet nowadays. President Obama tweeted. I can't think of any politician who doesn't. I think it's what you tweet about. Maybe it's a great way to speak directly to the people. There's no doubt about that. But to get into how Alec Baldwin portrayed you on television, who cares? Right? You're just legitimizing it. You're asking people to look at it. You're making it viral. Just focus on work. I just wish he would just focus on the job and forget. He's so sensitive. I mean, he is so sensitive. It's not a good thing to be when you're holding the highest office in the land.
So speaking of work, we'd love to come up to the museum sometime, and
Please
I
do.
heard we might be able to get a behind-the-scenes tour.
Oh, great, yeah.
So speaking of work and your professional aspirations, if you get the stolen artwork, do you do the victory lap around the museum and say I'm out?
Oh, yeah.
Is that really your kind of myopic focus in keeping the other works there obviously safe at the same
Number
time?
one is making sure what's there is safe and secure, and I think we do a good job of that. But finding these paintings is like my not lifelong, but it's my obsession. It consumes me. Once they're found, and they will be, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I don't know what I'll be up to. Let's just hope I have that question. I'm always afraid that I'm going to be an exhibit at the museum. I'm going to be 90 years old, sitting in a chair, and they'll say, that's the guy who's looking for the paintings.
No, Anthony, you're going to find the paintings.
I hope.
You're going to bring them to 90 Way Bosset Street.
That would be cool.
We're going to just put them right in front of the camera and say, we got the paintings, and then
that would be awesome.
You can do your own little victory lap in here, and then you can go do the bigger one.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate your coming into the studio today again with your Rhode Island ties, doing great things on the national stage, and we can't wait until the stolen artwork is recovered to show you right here on Go Local Live and the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. We will have the stolen works recovered from the Isabella Stewart Garden Museum. So, Anthony, appreciate your coming in today. Hopefully
pleasure.
we'll talk soon about that artwork, or otherwise we'll come up and see you in Boston.
Love to have you.
Okay, thanks for coming in. Okay.